David Beede has been working with Terry McCafferty on a new Dulcimer bass. It just got here. Let's unbox it. This is super exciting. So David Beede had a bass that he had been making years ago, and I've wanted one, but haven't been able to get one yet. Anyway, he starts talking to Terry McCafferty, and they come up with a plan. And I think Beede spent a couple weeks at Terry's house. And what if this isn't the bass? What if this is something else? I think it's the bass. There we go. All right. Here we go. Cool little case. Now this is the previous bass that David had been making was all solid body, I believe, and this one is semi-solid. You know what? I'm going to change the camera angle. I want you to see this. All right, back to it. You ever notice how exciting you are when something's coming in the mail? Of course you know. Whoa. Whoa. Very cool. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, this is an entirely new level here. So it does feel solid, but it is hollow, and I see some electronics in there. Back looks cool. They're calling it the Lil Double. Little access door in the back. The strings go through to the back. These strings are interesting. This isn't what you're probably used to on an instrument. It's kind of like what you find on those ukulele basses. Also, this is fretless. So, although it looks like there's frets here, it's really inlay. And they have routed out like a little, I don't know what you call it, a little groove to the left of each fret. But since it's fretless, you should be able to play any note you need. Well, I guess it smells good. So I wonder what it sounds like. Let's find out. I talked to Terry, and he told me I have to prepare the pickups before I plug it in. So what we have here, it's just a regular wall adapter on one end. On the other end, it looks like a stereo headphone plug. So he said to plug this into the jack, plug this into the wall, and let it charge for 60 seconds. And supposedly you get about 16 hours of usage out of that. So that's pretty wild. So I guess if I was going to a gig, I would go ahead and just plug it in for 1 minute. Hopefully be good for the rest of the weekend. Or longer. So let's tune this thing up. I'm going to use a regular clip-on tuner. And these are, if you've ever tuned a ukulele with new strings, you know they stretch quite a bit before they settle. And I imagine this is going to be a very similar thing. There's a good amount of sound coming from just this acoustically, so that's cool. The tuner's reacting well. And I'm flat, I'm bringing it up. So when you get this thing, it might it might be fairly flat. I noticed tuning machines, you tune a lot to get this string to change a little, and that gives you accuracy. All right. Now I'm gonna have to get to know this instrument, but I will tell you, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug that. Down here, it looks like you can set the intonation to get it to be really in tune up high on the neck. I'll have to talk to Terry about that and figure out when I need to do that. I suspect once it's set, it's good to go. I'm going to plug this in. This amp I have here is a Rumble 40 made by Fender. This is maybe not the best solution to go to a Dulcimer festival. You probably want something that's smaller and something that's battery operated. But this is a great little amp. So I'm going to turn it on. Let's hear this thing. There we go. Very neat. So the fact that there's no frets, just fret markers and grooves, means you can slide, which is a neat sound. And you can also get notes that normally a Dulcimer could not get. But let's just figure out the basics here. This is something I would do if I was backing up someone. Something like that. I need to learn how to play this thing. And if you want to learn how, I've got an idea. This sounds cool. There's like a neat little growl. It reminds me of an upright acoustic bass. You know, you're going to play this thing one note at a time. You're probably not going to want to hear two strings ringing at once. It's so low. It just sounds muddy. This is tuned DAD. I think it's 2 octaves below a Dulcimer. You've got to learn just the most basic things to be of use to a Dulcimer group. I mean, a bass can keep people together. It can make us sound better. And you'd probably only have one person playing this role in a group at a time. I'll tell you, the easiest way to get started is to memorize the notes on the bass string. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, C sharp. Just those. Of course, there's in-between notes you can get, but we'll deal with that later. So let's say the group's in the key of D major. You just need to take whatever chord they're on and take the letter part of that chord name and play that on the lowest string here. So if they're on a D chord, you can just pluck the D string open. They go to a G chord, you just play your G. They go to an A chord, you play your A. It's probably the first thing to get your mind wrapped around. The second thing is the idea of putting in rests. And I have spent a little time learning upright bass and electric bass. One of the things I worked on early on was how to create silence, because when you're done with a note, you want it to go away, and then the next one can happen. So one way to do that is with the left hand, you pluck with the right, lightly touch with the left. So you pluck on beat 1, touch on beat 2, just a touch. 3, and then 4. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I go to G, I can simply come up and stop pressing to create the silence. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same for A. So I'm actually doing a quarter note and then a quarter note rest. A quarter note and a quarter note rest. You want to hear the bass plucking. In this perspective, you want to hear it on beats 1 and 3. So that would be the first thing for Bob and Cabbage is just on the lowest string, you've got a D, G, and an A. and you're going to put in these mutes or these rests to separate out the notes. Bow them cabbage down, boys, turn them old geeks round. The only song that I can sing is bow them cabbage down. That would be the first thing to get good at. And if you've got another chord in there, like a B minor, you just find a B on the bass. E, find an E on the bass. The next step is probably going to be, I know it's funny, I'm teaching a lesson on something I've just opened, but I do this kind of thing on regular Dulcimer. You know, I'm always, when I play with someone, I'll pretend I'm a bass player, even though, you know, I don't have the bass notes, but now I do. The next step would be this. Instead of just hitting the same note over and over when the group lingers on a chord, like when they just linger on an A chord, instead of just plucking A over and over, instead of doing that, you're going to alternate between 4 on the bass and 4 on the middle and just go back and forth. And I'm really plucking with a very light touch, and I think that's probably the way to do it. Now, sometimes when you play a bass note along with a chord, there isn't enough time to go back and forth between the two notes, so you must prioritize the note that matches the name of the chord. So if it's an A chord, start with an A. Don't start on the other string. Let me try that bottom cabbage. This time I'll go back and forth from bass and middle, always on the same fret to match the chord name. D, here's a G, back to D, and then A. Now my left hand is creating silence, but my right hand is also creating some silence. I think that's one of the things you'll want to get better at. I mean, what I just did here, that's mostly what you need to do. Think about a bass player's role. It's to be a support, you know, to the room, to lay a firm foundation for everyone. Sometimes the fancier a bass player gets, it just kind of screws everything up. So a good bass player focuses on kind of what I was just doing here and just being accurate, you know, putting those silences in, making sure you're not rushing or dragging, knowing where the chords are, but you know, that's where you put your practice time in. So what you just saw here is mostly what I think a person would do quite a bit. Maybe a next level would be walking into things. When you do walking on the bass, you think of an upcoming chord and you go from what you just plucked and you walk along the string, or well, that's the basic way to do it. Walk along the string up to the next chord. So here's the sound of that. Bow them cabbage down, boys, turn them old geeks round. The only song that I can sing is bow them cabbage down. So, you know, there's all kinds of stuff we could be learning on here, but really just that. Now, if you're listening to this on a phone, that little speaker might not be enough to get this sound across. So try listening with headphones. You'll probably get a better sound. You know, when I think of someone using this in a group, I know Terry and David have picked out an amp that I think runs on batteries. It's smaller. And they experimented with a wireless connection. So you've got a little transmitter you plug in here, and you've got a receiver on the amp, so there's no cord like what I have here. So, you know, you could put this little amp 6 feet away under a table. No one needs to know it's there. That's pretty cool. Or under your own chair. With higher frequencies, our two ears help us locate a sound. You know, if a sound happens over here, I'm going to turn. I hear it happening on my left. If you take speakers in a room and move the speakers around, you can tell where the speakers are. But with low frequencies, I think it works different. The lower you go, the harder it is to locate where it's coming from in the room. I think it has something to do with the wavelength of the low notes is longer than the distance between your two ears, something like that. That works in our advantage because that speaker could be 10 feet away. And people just hear the bass. They don't necessarily know where it's coming from, you know. Now, I could see abuses happen with this. You know, you're up too loud, you're playing too hard, you're on all the wrong notes, your timing is messed up, but some of you want to get better at timing. I knew a guy who was still is a very good banjo player, and some of these really great musicians wanted to kind of mentor him into moving up to playing with better bands, and they suggested he play upright bass for a while. I think they took him on the road. So instead of doing banjo, which is what he's great at, they had him play upright bass. Now, I'm not sure if that's why they did, but I think it is. They wanted this guy to get better with timing. And so the bass, Dulcimer, I think this is a good way to do it. What's the difference between this and a regular bass Dulcimer where you just put really thick strings on it? I'm not sure yet. I think there's a difference in tone. And I think Terry's telling me this is another octave below a bass Dulcimer. Is that true? I'm gonna have to check that out with a piano. I don't have good enough ear to figure that out. That would mean up here would be your regular. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But anyway, I love this thing. I like doing the slides. That's the benefit of not having frets. You might be worried that it doesn't have frets, but you just put your finger where the inlay is. There's also that groove to the left of it. I want to talk to David and Terry and get some understanding on that groove. Let me try something. That's pretty cool. Deep and down, 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 down. Yeah, I like it. I better stop the video, but check it out, McCaffertyDulcimers.com, and bring some bass to this dulcimer world. I think we need it, and this is a good instrument to try it with. I don't know how to stop because I'm excited. All right, I'll see y'all later. Bye.